So EFT tapping looks a little strange the first time you see it. Here's what's actually happening and why it might be worth looking past the unusual surface. Hi, I'm Sonia, founder of EFT Companion, a wellness application that helps you regulate your nervous system with guided EFT sessions, powered by AI for personalization. So EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's sometimes called tapping because the core practice involves gently tapping with your fingertips on specific points on the face, head, and upper body, points that correspond to traditional acupressure meridians. The process combines two things simultaneously. One, it's the physical stimulation of those acupressure points. Two, it's the verbal acknowledgement of whatever you're working with. A stressful thought, a difficult feeling, a specific memory, a physical sensation, or a belief. That combination of body-based and being verbal at the same time is what distinguishes EFT from being a purely cognitive approach or being a purely somatic one. It works at the intersection of both. I'll make a separate video on how to tap, but for context, a typical EFT session involves saying 3 setup statements, something like, even though I feel this tightness in my chest every time I think about talking to my sister, I choose to accept myself anyway. You say that 3 times and then start tapping through the sequence of points while continuing to name your experience. It sounds simple, and it is in practice. The learning curve is low. You can do it on your own anywhere without any equipment. But simple is not the same as shallow. What's happening at the physiological level during EFT is more complex than the practice might suggest from the outside. So EFT was developed in the 1990s by Stanford-trained engineer Gary Craig, building on earlier works by Dr. Roger Callahan. It's been studied in clinical and research settings for a few decades now. While the research base is still growing, there is a meaningful body of evidence supporting its effectiveness for things like stress, anxiety, and trauma-related symptoms, particularly in its ability to reduce physiological markers of stress, like cortisol. One thing the research consistently shows is that EFT's effects are not just subjective. They show up in measurable physiological changes, which points to the fact that something real is happening at the body level. So EFT works at the nervous system level, and that's the level where a lot of chronic dysregulation actually lives. Not in our conscious thoughts that can be reframed, but in the body's learned patterns of response. By activating a stressful thought or memory or belief while simultaneously providing calming and physical input through the tapping, EFT appears to allow the nervous system to actually process that material rather than suppress it or be stuck in it. The emotional charge associated with those specific experiences also gradually reduce over time. The body's response to certain triggers changes. This is not about positive thinking. It's not about convincing yourself that you're fine. It's about giving the nervous system a different experience of something that previously triggered it or made it feel unsafe, and allowing that new experience to now update the pattern. So EFT is not a magic solution, although for me sometimes it can feel like that at moments. It is a tool. And like any tool, its usefulness depends on how it's applied and whether it's the right fit for what you're working with. Personally, now that it's part of my lifestyle, I use it daily for bad sleep, work stress, emotional processing, and even just reinforcing a positive mindset. But for people dealing with chronic stress, anxiety, and nervous system dysregulation at a deeper level, it's a tool that works at exactly the layer where those patterns tend to live. And I think that's worth knowing about. I'm Sonia, and if I can change my life with EFT, I'm pretty convinced that you can too.